who have offered to represent us. And I pray that that you will be with them in their decision-making for the accomplishment of your purposes and for the benefit of all the citizens of Fremont County. Thank you for your mercy and your kindness to us. Amen.
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 I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner McFall.
Present.
Commissioner Grantham. Here. Commissioner Bell.
Present.
Attorney Bellis.
Present.
Administrator Carochi.
Present.
Planning and Zoning Director Victoria.
Present.
Thank you. We move on to the approval of the agenda. I don't know of any changes.
Mr. Chair, I also do not know of any changes we need to make today, so I move to approve today's agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
On to the consent agenda. We are not scheduling any public hearings today for the future.
It's always the most important one.
Can be.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we move on to staff and elected officials' reports. We're going to start with the county clerk's monthly report. Clerk Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The total motor vehicle fees, sales tax, and recording fees collected for March of this year are $1,324,932.76. Of that, Fremont County's portion for disbursement is $744,018.66, which is 56% of the total fees, and is $100,012. Well, wow, not like that. $112,976.15, less than March of last year. It's gonna be a long day, and I can't speak. Year to date, our office is up $84,952.30.
And to put him out of his misery, I will just move to accept his report
Thank you.
for the month of March 2024.
His misery, they all have to go through.
No,
Been moved
thank
and
you for
seconded
that,
to accept
Mr.
the county clerk's monthly report. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
The
Thank
motion
you.
carries.
Thank you, Justin. We move on to the county administrator's report. Mr. Tony Croce, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. So I'll start off with the following job opportunities that we have posted for the county. In our facilities department, we have a temporary maintenance worker. That's a 6-month position. It closes today, actually, April the 9th. We also have a custodial opening that closes today. In the sheriff's office, we have our ongoing deputy, detention deputy positions open. Department of Human Services, we have 4 openings. They're all 4 caseworkers, 1 in intake, 1 which is an elementary school age ongoing, an adolescent ongoing, and then we also have a child welfare case aid screener. And then with our Department of Transportation, we have an operator position that closes on April the 16th. For more information about employment opportunities with Fremont County, please go to our county website, which is fremontcountyco.gov, or you can call our HR department at 719-276-7409. We began our Fremont County cleanup campaign with Twin Enviro landfill yesterday, and we have already issued over 95 permits. Last year at this date, last year for the whole month, we provided 189, so we've already issued out more than half of what we did for the whole year last year. So please come in and get your voucher. They're issued to residents of unincorporated Fremont County, and there's a limit of 1 voucher per address. No televisions, microwaves, or electronic appliances, and they can be picked up at our Fremont County Administration Building in room 106. We will also be partnering with 3R Technologies to provide our electronic recycling event on May 25th from 9 to 12. That will be held at the Department of Human Services parking lot. You can contact us at 719-276-7409 if you have any questions or concerns. We have several county department staff from Department of Human Services, Fremont County Department of Public Health, and our Fremont County Sheriff's Office who will be participating in the PACE Employer Fair, which is put on by our three school districts in Fremont County. It will be held Thursday, April the 11th at Canyon City High School. Our staff will be on hand along with many other employees in our county to provide interviews to students from Canyon City High School, Florence Junior Senior High School, and Cotopaxi High School in an effort to provide students the opportunity to participate in a meaningful and educational experience interviewing with different employees in our county. They expect to have close to 300 students at that event, so we're excited to be part of that. We've had a tremendous increase of events at Pathfinder, as you can all imagine, with the closing of the Abbey Event Center. Fremont County has posted a bid proposal for an experienced contractor with outstanding credentials to provide alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverage services inside the Pathfinder Park Event Center. The contractor will have the responsibility to ensure beverage sales are provided at public events as required by the Pathfinder Park Event Center. The selected contractor will have the exclusive right to sell beverage services at meetings, private parties, and banquets. The successful vendor will work with event promoters and coordinators to meet the event's beverage needs. The Pathfinder Park Event Center is seeking a % of the gross sales agreement as offered by the proposer. All questions regarding this request for proposal should be directed to Jeremy McNeely. I think I have your problem this morning. Who is the Pathfinder Park Event Center Director. His email is Jeremy, and that's Jeremy with an A, jeremy.mcneely@fremontco.countyco.com, or you can call him at 719-276-7399 with any questions. Please go to our Fremont County website, and at the top of the front page, click on Other Resources, click on Bid Request Portal, and you will find the RFP. And I believe it closes April the 25th. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Little confusion with the website there. So if you do go to our old website, it kicks you to the new one. We are transitioning to .gov, so it is fremontcountyco.gov. If you use the old one, it'll temporarily kick you there, or at least for a while anyway. So thanks for that, Tony. Any other questions or anything for Tony?
No.
Okay, I'll turn it over to any other folks up here, commissioners, or
I just have one thing I would like to say.
just one.
Just one today.
Wow.
Our offices are back open. So many of you may know that we had an issue in the commissioner's suite of offices upstairs for, 6 weeks or so. We had an ongoing construction project, I guess you could say. We were getting new carpet and we ran into some issues. So carpet is finally down. It is complete. It is finished. We are reopened for business in 105, so stop in and see us anytime. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one page of things to talk about. Try to keep track for folks, when we come in here twice a month for our Board of County Commissioners meetings, to keep up on the, how do I put this, clown car of legislation that is happening up in Denver. I didn't say legislators because that might be personal. But to sum it up, some of the stuff that we're paying close attention to as counties, as local governments, when it comes to land use, when it comes to the authority of the state taking authority away from counties when it comes to land use decisions. Senate bill, I'm still trying to remember that Senate bill from last year. 231, thank you. That got killed last year, and they brought it back this year in a whole series of bills to try to take a piecemeal. It's been a little bit more successful for them as far as those that want to take away local control rights, but it's also been a little bit more successful on our side, being able to make significant changes where we make horrible bills just bad bills. And in a couple cases, making them relatively harmless to us. An example of that is House Bill 1007 that would have taken away our ability to prohibit our ability to set occupancy limits in certain zonings. That's one of the mainstays of zoning and regulation, being able to plan community. That did ultimately go to the governor, but we were able to protect at least some of our ability to enforce those limits as local governments. There's another one that I know my colleagues, 1175, they know my love for the right of first refusal bill. That has moved from the House to the Senate. This basically gives the local governments, they guise this in the idea that they're giving local governments more control, but what they've actually done is set the local governments in between the seller and the buyer, giving them a right of first refusal on certain multifamily properties, basically giving property rights away. That is rolling right on through. It's got through the House and it's on its way to the Senate, unfortunately. There's a whole, like I said, clown car of these kind of bills that you can love to hate. There are, of course, the Second Amendment bills that we are still fighting. There's the backdoor regulation, registration of your Second Amendment rights and your guns. There's state permits for gun stores. There's the no guns in sensitive places, which adds a whole lot of certain locales, locations within communities to the list of potential targets is pretty much how I would frame that. There's the liability bill, the 1270, which would essentially make it too expensive to own a gun, which is their whole idea. If they can't outright ban them, then they will take them out of your hands one way or the other. Again, there's one that would prohibit teachers in all public schools from carrying. Another target bill, which would put, as if schools weren't already an issue when it comes to that, now they're going to take the ability of teachers to carry away. There's the assault weapons ban, which they come back with every year, having yet to actually define what an assault weapon is. And 1348, this is a fun one. I know the chairman has mentioned this several times, the mandatory storage bill, which would make actually carrying your weapon from location to location next to impossible. In your vehicle or in any other way. So those are just the long list of ones that we are fighting, that we oppose, and most of the ones that would have given us more Second Amendment freedoms, they've already died in the House and Senate, and now we are only faced with ones that are heading to the governor shortly that will take away our Second Amendment rights. I'm just the bearer of good news today.
I don't know, creating soft targets and disarming honest people. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong with that? Right.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you, sir. Clerk Grantham?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be the delight of good news. The Congress has decided to allocate some election funding for grant purposes, and so my office is starting to collect bids and going out to get these grants for updates to our security, to our video surveillance. but it also includes the ability to upgrade drop boxes. And I know there was a concern in the county by a lot of people, and a concern I had this last election, that there are too many people stopping in the middle of the road to drop off their ballot. So I'm going to try to get this grant to add a drive-through drop box right across the street at the Garden Park building. So for everybody listening out there, that's the game plan for that. Also, there's a recording grant out there that we can, we have some straggling pages that may or may not have gotten the good image when we did digitize those records 13, 14 years ago. So we're trying to get this grant that would allow us to buy that equipment so we can digitize individual pages out of our old books. That way we can re-grab that equipment. So I'm glad these grant options are available, because it means that it's less that you guys would have to spend as taxpayers and more that we can grab from funding that's already available out there. So I just thought I'd mention that. And then just a reminder, it's April and there's an election in a month and a half coming up. It's our June primary. So if you need to update your address, you need to change your address, you need to register to vote, change affiliation, whatever you need to do, please do it now. That way we can get you your ballot when the ballots are mailed out in June. So other than that, come to our office, talk to me, talk to my election staff, recording staff, motor vehicle staff, and pray that, as every year happens, there ends up being new plates, that you get to see those new plates so you can enjoy the 200 plus individualized plates out there that allow you to have your First Amendment rights on the back of your vehicle. So, but if you have any questions about those, please visit my office and we're more than happy to help you guys. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Grant.
Yeah, just one more thing. I had all the bad news. I want to actually talk about something good. Leave it on a better note. There, as you remember, of course, we had there was a special session, and they created this property tax commission. That's not the good news, by the way. But they are wrapping up some of their work, and there is information available online for what they are trying to accomplish. Bottom line is, it's not going to accomplish what they hoped it would accomplish. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. That being said, the good news part of it is, I want everybody to be aware that there will be efforts. You'll see a ton of people this year, as with every election year, out there asking for petitions, asking for signatures for their petitions for ballot measures to go on the ballot in November. And many of these will be for tax reduction measures. So examine them carefully, get your signatures on them. One in particular that I would like you to remember, it doesn't have to do with the reducing property taxes, but it's one that I'm working personally on. And we are before Title Board this month. All the measures are in front of Title Board this month. But mine will be to, instead of the state, like they're trying right now to give preemption to themselves over local government land use control, our measure will be a constitutional amendment that will ask the voters to give local governments land use authority preemption over the state. And so that will take the state out of the equation in many ways, and would love to have your support. And when you see those petitions, please put your signature on them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I got a couple quick things. I was at a CDOT meeting yesterday, and they have April designated as Work Zone Awareness Month, and I think that's important for local as well. That means all these projects are starting to happen out on the roads, whether they're paving, chip sealing, doing whatever. There has been some going all winter, obviously, on like 115, but just be careful of those folks out there working. They're mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, everything else, just like we are, so be careful and keep those folks safe. And then I'm sure everybody enjoyed the 70-mile-an-hour winds we had the last couple of days, day before yesterday. That just increases the fire danger, Clerk Grantham. There was a couple of big fires east of us, and thank goodness we didn't have any around here, but it could happen instantly. So be very careful while you're out there and out and about and enjoying the outdoors, and don't start a fire. Anybody, anything else up here? Okay, this is the part where we'll turn to citizens who wish to address the commissioners on matters not scheduled on the agenda. I don't have anybody that indicated they wanted to. Is there anybody? Nobody, they're all just looking at me. Okay, we'll move on. We have no old business. We're going to move into new business. The first item on new business is a proclamation naming April 14th through 20th as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Circa, what is it?
Combined
I gotta ask every
Regional
time.
Communications Authority.
Authority. We have the director, Angela Clausen, here this morning. I saw her walk in somewhere. There she is. I saw this, we got an email or something, and I thought, man, this is really, really interesting. Because in this proclamation, come on up, Angela.
You can bring Lindsay with you if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. They got a whole crew back there, actually.
We have 3 of our dispatchers as well, if you guys want to come up.
All of them, yeah.
This is Deputy Director Lindsay Hubbard, Dispatch Supervisor Alex Henry, one of our telecommunicators, Haley Wilson, and another one, Dakota Johnson.
Good morning. Thank you all for
Welcome. Good
being
morning.
here.
Thank you.
In this proclamation, I'll just read it, or do you want to read it?
Your pleasure, sir.
I'll do it. Okay, I thought this was interesting, and the first whereas here is why it was very interesting to me, because I didn't realize that they were not recognized as first responders. This is whereas 2024 marks the first year that public safety communications officers are officially recognized as first responders in the state of Colorado. To me, they're the first responder, so this is awesome that it's officially recognized. And whereas dedicated public safety communications officers serve the citizens of Colorado by answering their requests for law enforcement, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas the public safety communication officers are the first link between the citizens and the emergency responders. And whereas the safety of both citizens and emergency responders is dependent upon the highly trained and skilled public safety communications officers. And whereas the role public safety communication officer plays in ensuring public safety occurs behind the scenes and is seldom recognized. And whereas public safety communications officers serving Fremont County have exhibited professionalism, efficiency, and compassion during the performance of their essential duties in the past year. And whereas the Association of Public Communications Officials have designated the 3rd week in April to recognize public safety telecommunicators. And now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that by the board, by the county commissioners of Fremont County, Colorado, I got that problem too, I guess, that the week of April 14th through April 20th is hereby designated as Colorado Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Fremont County in honor of the men and women of Colorado who play a critical role in the proclamation and preservation of life and property. So we want to thank you guys tremendously because as this says, you kind of work behind the scenes and you're a voice somebody talks to, but a voice somebody depends on as well. So I think it's outstanding that you are officially recognized as first responders.
I have a couple of comments, if I may. So I echo that. Thank you so much for the work you do. I have the opportunity to serve on the Fremont County 911 Authority, which is the part of the telephone call that takes place from the time a person picks up the phone until it's delivered into your dispatch center. I also serve as an alternate member for Circa, and so I'm very well acquainted with what you do every single day. And for anyone who doesn't understand it yet, you answer the phone when you say 911, what is your emergency? Those are the people standing in front of us today. So I have been known in the past to speak of Fremont County Department of Human Services, folks who work in child protection services, as me saying that's the one job in the county that I could never do. I'm pretty competent, I can do a lot, that's the one job I could never do. But I'm here to tell you, you also do a job I could never do. It takes such an incredibly high level of professionalism. It takes heart. It takes truly the substance from within to be able to do this job. And I just want to let you all know truly how impressive the work is that you do every single day. We all rely on you, and people may not know that until they're the other ones who are making that phone call and they hear your voice on the other end when they dial 911. You give them a sense of safety, a sense of security. You help them walk through whatever it happens to be that they are dealing with on that particular day, and you get them help. And so I just want to say thank you, because I think it takes an incredibly special person to be able to do the job that you do. And I just want to say thank you so much for the job you do, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, it's hard to improve on that. Thanks. Thanks for leaving so much for me to, no, thank you guys. Ditto to all of that. You guys do a fantastic job, and you are a lifeline for so many people, so thank you for being there for them. With that, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve this proclamation naming April 14 to 20 as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the proclamation making April 14th through 20th Fremont National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Fremont County. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now we got a photo op. We're going to come out there with this proclamation. Take a picture. She's like, oh my gosh. Once you know that. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We do have a public hearing scheduled at 9:30. It's 9:27 right now, so we're going to do the second item, and then we'll probably get into the public hearing right after that. The second item is award of acceptance notice for the Grandview Avenue Bridge, and we have Jay Bunderson, our county engineer, here this morning. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to, as you know, present the opportunity to have your approval on the award of the contract. We received 5 bids from contractors to replace and take out the Grandview Avenue Bridge. The 4 of those bids were well within range of each other, standard deviation. So they're confident that the low bid by Siete Incorporated reflects the actual, true cost of the project, and we would like you to make that award. Their bid was for $3,115,704. And along with that, first thing before we do that, the 2 letters that you have before you would acknowledge the award from the off-system bridge program from the state of most of that, half of that funding, approximately, well, a third of that funding. And then put together with the previous funding we got in 2021 would complete the funding package and leave the county with 24% of the costs. So that award acceptance notice is 1 letter going back to the Colorado Counties Incorporated, which would be forwarded to the Special Highway Committee. So I'd ask you to sign that, and then also, most importantly, maybe the request for concurrence of this award to go to CDOT and Don Skanga, our local agency coordinator, so that CDOT can approve the award to Siete. Everything looks to be in order. We've met all their CDOT's requirements for that, and it looks like they will have no problem in doing that. So I guess that's all I really wanted to present, and if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Don. that people know, this is a bridge project we've been saving money for a long time. Been actually working on the bridge itself with the design and everything else for probably a little over 4 years. It's taken a long time, and I think the cost has jumped tremendously since we first started. So we had to get that supplemental from the BRO award simply because we were $1.3 million short again. And that was the jump in costs, I believe. It's kind of a cooperative effort because there's a lot of utilities also go across that canal, and they have to be relocated at the same time, water, electricity, everything else that goes across there. So it's been a big undertaking. I appreciate the time you've put in on that. I'll open it up to the other commissioners.
I do have a question. Can you give us an idea of timeline, when the project should be started and when it could be finished?
Yes, we're hoping to have the contractor start, the notice to proceed, I guess is the term, by around the 1st of May, shortly after possibly. And then the contract states expecting the work to be done in 6 months, which would put it at the end of October, early November, I guess. And that's barring any unforeseen problems, say if they run into some issue underground that no one can foresee, or I can't think of anything else.
Okay, thank you. I just would like to note that for those of us who live in that area, we've been dealing with the Rhodes Avenue project through the city for a couple of years now. That road actually is still not open, but we had a conversation with the city of Canyon City just yesterday, and they are expecting East Main Street and Rhodes Avenue to completely reopen for now by the end of this week. If not the end of this week, the beginning of next week. So we've been very careful to not close off all of the access, even though my 2 coworkers are trying their hardest to get me locked in at home. They're doing everything they can. But we are not going to be blocking all access to make it that difficult for anyone to get where they need to go. But this is going to be a major inconvenience for a lot of people because that's a thoroughfare running through there. And so we will do everything that we can to let folks know when that road's going to be closed and for how long. So.
Right, yeah, and we've been working with the city as well. They have a project lined up to resurface, do a lot of work on Justice Center Road. So they're going to hold off on that because of the detour needed for the bridge project.
All right, thank you, Jay.
Yeah.
Anything, Commissioner Grantham? Nope. I think this also, just so folks know, we get bridge inspections every year, and this is one of the worst bridges in Fremont County. It's one of the oldest and needs to be done, and that's the reason for the replacement of this bridge, safety. So I would entertain a motion. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the bid of the Grandview Bridge Replacement Project to Siete Incorporated at the amount of $3,115,704. This motion does include all of the associated signatures as requested.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that with just a reminder for folks, even on big stuff like this, as with all things, these are documents that are available. These are public record, and they're available on the website through the commissioner's portion of the website, and so you can examine them for yourselves as well. And I second the motion.
Okay, thank you. It has been moved and seconded to award the bid to Siete Incorporated and sign corresponding documents. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks.
All right, the time is 9:34. We do have a public hearing scheduled, so we will jump to that. It is a zone change 23-003 TK Processing. The applicant consultant George Hall with Crown Point Land Service on behalf of TK Processing is requesting to rezone 2.27 acres from agricultural estates to industrial. The application also includes a final development plan and special review use permit to allow for a slaughterhouse meat processing operation located at 1906 and 1910 North 9th Street. And we have George Hall this morning, and I will open the public hearing. Good morning, George.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
I would like to mention that I have Zach Tracy and Jeff Kessler here with me. I'm going to have them come up and do most of the presentation here. Basically, like you said, it's for a processing plant at 1910 and 1906. We are putting the two lots together through a boundary line of vacation. We have sent to the department a preliminary drawing of that to be finally done. We could sign that as soon as they sign off on getting that done, where we could get it to you to where we could finish that. Have no problem with that. We are planning on moving the 98 square foot building out of the building setback. That will be done as soon as possible, as soon as we get approval. As far as the other thing of the contingencies we have here, is it's saying that there's supposed to be a curb around the detention leach fields. We are actually presenting that will be done with a rocking landscaping type of situation instead of actually curbing, which will actually be more aesthetically it's more in the line of what the area is instead of the curb and gutter. As far as the other contingencies, we don't really have any issues. I would like to ask Jeff and Zach to come up, and they can actually discuss a little bit more the goings-on of the operation and everything to you, and then we can answer whatever question.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning, guys. If you would just introduce yourself again, please.
I'm Zach Tracy,
I'm Jeff Kessler.
and we are T-Bar-K Processing. We're going to be a locally owned and operated slaughterhouse, slaughterhouse meat processing. Our intentions are to be able to provide a product for local residents who raise their own animals who need it processed.
In addition to that, we also are looking at hiring more staff. So we're also looking forward to the opportunity of employing more of our Fremont County residents. And as Zach mentioned, we're going to be providing a product, but we're also going to be providing a service that is desperately needed in Fremont County, especially in that area of Fremont County. Our intention is to bring life to that neighborhood. We want to bring a more aesthetically appealing area to that. I mean, as you guys as well, and I can sure Dan can attest to this, when we received the opportunity to start doing with that property, we cleaned that property up immensely. And that's our intention. We want to start cleaning that area up and providing jobs to our citizens here in the Fremont County area. In addition to that, once again, it's a process that is desperately needed by local farmers, and it could bring in additional business from out of the county as well, which will increase our revenue to the area.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for these guys?
Not at this time?
Nope.
Okay, thanks. We'll move to a staff report, and
Thanks,
then
guys.
we'll come back to some other questions probably. Thank you.
All right, my turn. Yep, in front of us, we have zone change 2, zone change with a final designation 23-003, T-Bar-K Processing. In front of us, we have zone change and the final development plan. They're currently in the agricultural estates zone district, and the ask is going to be for a slaughterhouse and meat processing. So the applicant consultant George Hall with Crown Point Land Services on behalf of T-Bar-K Processing is requesting to rezone 2.27 acres from agricultural estates to industrial. The application also includes a final development plan and special reuse permit to allow for the slaughterhouse meat processing operation located at 1906 and 1910 North Street. The proposed development would include a slaughterhouse operation to be contained within an existing 2,619.7 square foot building on the eastern portion of the property. A holding pen is proposed on the southeast corner of the property outside of the drainage easement, but within a 10-foot utility easement along the eastern boundary. Animals are to be held on site for a maximum of 4 hours in the holding pen. The plan identifies a 900 square foot future cooler that may be constructed, providing the need. The applicant has indicated that was for the cooler if it's required. Additionally, a 1,159.2 square foot manufactured trailer is proposed to be used as office space, and an 831.6 square foot manufactured trailer would be dedicated as a watchman's quarters. 2 storage sheds are proposed to be located on the south of the watchman's quarters behind the processing facility. There are 2 septic tanks, a leach field, and a 1,500-gallon holding tank. A total of 11 parking spaces are proposed with delivery, pickup, unloading, and trailer backing areas to be surfaced with 6 inches of gravel. The west side of the property contains a manufactured home double wide and accessory structures that are proposed to be removed within 18 months of the zone change approval to accommodate 18 parking spaces, the existing septic tank, a leach field, a new detention pond, and a drainage easement. Due to the proximity of the proposed parking, drive aisles, existing leach fields, holding pens, trailer backing, and loading areas, the applicant proposed to install a state statute legal agricultural fence placed for the safety of the easement and not to be driven into. The eastern and western portions of the property are separated by an existing 6-foot wood privacy fence within a 4-foot wide employee walkway to provide employee pedestrian access from the parking area to the slaughterhouse operation. Screening of the proposed use is provided by a combination of the existing 6-foot wood privacy fence and the installation of a new 6-foot wood high privacy fence, 6-foot high wood privacy fencing along the eastern southern portion of the western property boundaries. Animal byproducts are produced as waste during the slaughtering and processing of domestic and wild animals. This includes, not limited to, animal hides, hair, fat, organ, bone, inedible meat, and blood. The applicant submitted an operation and waste plan that states the above referenced animal byproducts will be retained in bags and marked with a green denatured ink prior to being disposed of in a waste receptacle that is rated and approved for such products to be provided by Twin Enviro. All bags will be marked not for human consumption prior to being placed in the waste receptacle. Twin Environment will then retrieve the waste and it will be disposed of in an appropriate location in the landfill. Additionally, there will be a 1,500-gallon holding tank located for the facility to handle the byproducts of the slaughtering process. Pumping and cleaning of the tanks would be done every 10 to 20 days, dependent on usage, and no byproducts would be placed in a typical leach field. Additionally, there would be around 25 gallons per day in the holding tank for daily cleanup of rags, aprons, and cloths, and for the cleaning and sanitation of tools and tables. The applicant is proposing to have the holding tank equipped with a float with an alarm at 80% capacity, as noted on the tank, and the tank will be pumped at that time. The processing would be halted until pumped below the 80% mark. T-Bar-K Processing is proposing to be open 300 days per year, 5.5 days per week. The hours of operation are between 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday, and closed on Sundays. Additionally, the operation would be open during wild game season after hours, on call for animal drop-off only. A maximum of 10 animals per day would be processed by appointments only. There is a maximum of 10 customers per day that would come to the operation for delivery and 10 customers per day for pickups. A maximum of 10 employees will work in the operation. The watchman's quarters occupancy is limited to a person who either owns the primary use or is employed as a manager, maintenance, or similar function. For background and site characteristics, the property is currently zoned agricultural estates, which allows for limited agricultural purposes with appropriate single-family residence and accessory uses, and provides separation from business and industrial use. It consists of lots 1, which is addressed 1906 North Street and is 1.01 acres in size, and the other lot is 1910 North Street, which is 1.26 acres in size. At some time in the past, the 1910 North Street parcel was functioning as a meatpacking business. However, the business was closed down because slaughterhouse was not allowed use in the agricultural estates zone district due to a non-compliance with the minimum property size at that time. Upon combining the properties and approval of the zone change and permitting, the owners intend to operate a meat processing/slaughtering operation. So we have compliance and intent with the purpose of the Fremont County zoning resolution. The industrial zone district is established to provide a general industrial and manufacturing activities. The proposed slaughterhouse use is subject to an issuance of a special use permit and must demonstrate compliance with the Fremont County zoning resolution, SRU approval criteria, and requirements. As for minimum lot size, as noted, the subject property consists of 2 lots. The applicant has submitted a request for a vacation of interior lot line to combine the 2 lots into a single 2.27 acre lot. Staff finds upon approval of the vacation of interior lot line, the property would comply with the minimum lot size requirements for the industrial zone district. For building height, all structures are below the 50-foot building height, maximum building height in the industrial zone. For maximum lot coverage, the proposed lot coverage is 5.67%, which is below the limitation for the industrial zone district. Combined, both properties would comply with lot width for an industrial zone. And for setbacks, staff finds all buildings comply with the minimum setback requirements of the industrial zone district with the exception of the following. On the front setback, there's a manufactured home that they're requesting be utilized as a watchman's quarters. Ag Estates has a 25-foot setback, and the manufactured home is currently at 26.4 feet. If this zone change is approved, the front setback is 40 feet. So by changing the zone, we're technically would be making something that's conforming right now non-conforming. But we could solve that with the applicant completing a non-conforming use status on that front watchman's quarters. And that's an in-office administrative approval. So we have provided the applicant a non-conforming use status application. And that is one of the contingencies we're recommending. So the applicant has indicated when the rezone is complete and approved, they will submit the non-conforming use status application. Staff recommends the approval of a non-conforming use status application be an approval contingency of this application. For side setbacks, there's that 98 square foot shed that Mr. Hall referenced that they plan on moving. Once they shift that over, that will be in compliance, so that would no longer be a concern. But at this time, that shed's in the setback. We have that as a contingency as well. For performance standards, the final development plan depicts a freestanding sign along North Street. We allow for a sign of 32 square feet in size, no higher than 6 feet, and it's allowed to be lit. The Planning Commission recommended downlighting specifically on that to not have light pollution in the area. So staff recommends the dimensional specifications of the freestanding sign be identified by label or note on the final development plan in accordance with our regulations, and obviously downlighting if possible. We have that as a recommended contingency. The required number of parking spaces for this is 19. The applicants are providing 29. So ample parking, so there'll be no on-street parking conflicts. So they're in compliance with that. Per section 5.3.2 of the zoning resolution, surfacing for all industrial off-street parking areas shall be graded and surfaced to control dust. The driveway and parking spaces shall be asphalt or concrete unless waived by this board. The final development plan depicts the driveways, customer and employee access areas, delivery and unloading spaces, and parking spaces to be surfaced with 6 inches of gravel. And the applicant has requested a waiver from the surfacing requirements, which staff supports. We originally had concerns around the drainage basin, drainage easement, and leach fields. The applicant has proposed fencing around a portion of that, and our engineer suggested a compromise, maybe requiring curbing sections along portions of the drive aisles to keep vehicles off of the leach field. We had talked with the applicant, and we came up with the intent is to have a physical barrier to keep them off. So we discussed landscaping, rocks, some sort of other barrier may be more appropriate than having curbing with gravel. So the applicant has indicated they find that acceptable. So in terms of an accessible parking space, an ADA spot, Staff recommends the accessible parking space be surfaced with asphalt or concrete in compliance with our zoning resolution. And the accessible route is provided from the accessible parking space to the accessible entrance as required by our regulations. As such, staff recommends the applicant revise the final development plan or site plan to surface the accessible parking space with asphalt or concrete and depict an ADA ramp connecting the accessible parking space to the entrance of the building in compliance with the ADA requirements. The applicant has requested a waiver from the ADA hard surfacing, but detailed compaction. Ultimately, they stated if surfacing is required, that they will agree to it. Staff finds all recommended contingencies are addressed. The proposal would demonstrate compliance and intent with the Fremont County zoning resolution. As far as transportation, FCDOT has reviewed this and they've requested roadway impacts. So a payment of an annual roadway impact fee implements the transportation goal of maintaining safe, functional, and low maintenance and cost-effective countywide transportation systems. So FCDOT has determined that there'd be yearly roadway impact fees that would have to be paid. As far as economic development, the proposed rezoning and special reviews furthers economic development objectives by widening existing economic base and bringing 10 new jobs to the county. For water, sewer, and utility services, the proposed development has demonstrated it has access to adequate, dependable, and cost-effective water sources and sewage disposal for the proposed use. For evidence that there's public need for the zone change, the applicant's justification for the rezoning including a statement that the need is great for a slaughtering and processing plant to be established in the community, with cost-effective services being provided. Additional facilities are needed to better accommodate the demand for meat processing and slaughter operations. Staff acknowledges the need for a meat processing and slaughtering operation as they play a key role in adding value to agricultural products, meeting consumer demand, and contributing to the overall food supply chain. As evidenced by the applicant's desire to bring the slaughterhouse operation into compliance through the development review process. For evidence that the zone change will be a county or neighborhood benefit and will preserve values in the neighborhood, the applicant notes the supply and great demand currently as most county residents are going out of town for services. It would provide 10 jobs for the county. Although no evidence was provided, the applicant asserts that there will not be any detrimental effects to property values with the approval of the zone change, and T-Bar-K processing values align with the Fremont County Master Plan. Further, there will be no negative impacts on the county or its citizens or service providers. Staff finds that additional land is needed in the proposed industrial zone district to accommodate meat processing. So evidence that the proposed zone change and proposed use will be in harmony and compatible with the surrounding land uses and development. The subject property is surrounded by single-family residential to the east and west, as those parcels are zoned agricultural estates. The property to the north is a gun club and currently is vacant, and the properties to the south and southwest are substantially industrial in nature and include a contractor's yard, Fremont County DOT, road and bridge, self-storage supply facilities. The proposed zone change to industrial would be in harmony and compatible with the adjacent, I've got it now, industrial zoning to the south and southwest. So it is noted that slaughterhouses are intensive operations linked to potentially objectable impacts that, if not addressed, may not be compatible or harmonious with nearby land uses. The location of the holding pens had raised concerns during the development review process because they abut a lower intensity single-family land use to the east and encroach in a utility easement that could compromise the function of a detention pond and drainage easement. The processing building and holding pens are located to the rear of the property in the southeast corner and are visually screened from view with the existing vegetation located along North Street. Staff finds that the proposed 6-foot wood privacy fence located on the south, east, and west property boundaries provide adequate screening for the slaughterhouse use. However, the concerns remained about the encroachment of the holding pens and the 10-foot utility easement, as it could be difficult for utility providers to access or work within the holding pen. And this came up because during the vacation of interior lot line, we require a 10-foot utility easement around the boundary of the property. So we're making them put a utility easement in, but then that causes conflict with where their holding pen is located. So when we spoke with the applicant about this, they feel this would not be an issue because the area is already built out and they don't feel there'd actually be use of it, but they ultimately stated if anyone needs to access the utility easement, that they would, with proper notification, they could supply access to where the pen area is, so it shouldn't slow down any use of that easement. So they're willing to compromise with that. So for sanitation, due to the proposed business being a meat processing facility, the building official required information about OWTS and sanitation disposal methods and water usage. The building official found the water usage that is summarized in the processing may be low, but believes through strict water conservation from kill to package process, the water usage numbers the applicants provided is acceptable. They did note the notes on the final development plat for the holding tank float to alarm at 80%. It's actually a, per section 12.c.9 of the Fremont County OWTS regulations, it actually needs to sound off at 75%. The applicant's been made aware and they're going to make that revision on the plat. The use of any vault will need the approval of the Fremont County Board of Health. A recommended contingency is provided to the commissioner for the commissioner's consideration. Park Center Water submitted a letter that they will serve the business, providing they install a district-approved backflow prevention device. The latest submittal of the final development plan includes a note that they will install the backflow prevention device. For fire protection, Canyon City Fire District, only comments from the district was for the operator to add a multi-purpose fire extinguisher at each business building. For the drainage, Fremont County project engineer reviewed the drainage plan and found found all concerns were addressed in the most recent version. Utilities, the applicant has depicted all utilities on the final development plan. The 10-foot utility easement that I spoke about that's required to be dedicated along the exterior of the property as part of the VILL. Again, the applicant's willing to make accommodations if anyone needs to use that easement. For environmental influences, disposal of animal carcasses and animal byproducts can pose challenges for waste management. The operation and waste plan was reviewed by the Fremont County Building and Environmental Health Department. All animal byproducts will be disposed of by Twin Enviro. Planning Commission had a question about does anyone from the county inspect the dumpsters for cleanliness? That's not something that they wind up doing. So I looked into that concern. Weed management. Fremont County Weed Management issued an integrated weed management plan to address various weed species in the vicinity. So the site will be served by streets and roads sufficient to carry the capacity of the traffic generated by the proposed use, and the proposed use will not result in any undue traffic congestion. They're anticipating in the range of 22 to 40 vehicle trips per day. And again, FCDOT has worked out the numbers, and based on the increase of traffic, a annual fee would be submitted to the applicant. The site's sufficient size to accommodate the proposed use. All drive aisles are sufficient in size. There is a truck and trailer backing aisle that is 14.4 feet wide, but we're not viewing that as a roadway, so it can be smaller than the 24-foot roadway requirements. So there's no concerns with that. The applicant doesn't anticipate any odor issues. Does not anticipate any noise or vibration. As for lighting, the applicant's response to review comments indicated the lighting would be placed for security reasons on buildings. Proposed watchman's quarters is to supply on-site security with motion sensors for additional security. And lighting for the proposed sign is anticipated to be solar ground light. And again, that Planning Commission recommended downlighting on that. So, to summarize this, based on the application, compliance with regulatory requirements of the Fremont County zoning resolution and special reviews permitting approval criteria, staff recommends approval of these requests for a Zone Change 2 final development with the following contingencies. Number 1, the associated vacation of interior lot line must be approved and recorded by Fremont County prior to final approval of the zone change application. Number 2, the applicant shall secure approval of a 13.6-foot front setback variance on a non-conforming use status application prior to final approval. Number 3, the applicant shall relocate the 98-square-foot shed to be in conformance with the 10-foot side yard setbacks. Number 4, revise the final development plan to include the dimensional specifications of the freestanding sign with lighting by label or note on the plat. Number 5, revise the final development plan to depict curb sections or landscaping barriers for the to keep vehicles off of the leach field. And the leach field by the employee parking area. And then number 6, revise the final development plan notes to change the high water alarm to 75%. And lastly, number 7, revise the final development to surface the accessible parking space with asphalt or concrete and depict an ADA ramp connecting the accessible parking space to the entrance of the building to be in compliance with ADA requirements. So that is it.
Any questions for Dan?
I do have one
Okay.
quick question, please.
Absolutely.
Let me find the appropriate language. The one continuous curb around the leach field, so the applicant just stood before us, I believe, and asked for a rock containment system instead?
Yes.
And yet our contingencies actually still say...
Says curbing.
Curbing.
So, sorry I didn't make that revision. I had worked out with the applicant that curbing may not be the most applicable, but the intent of it was to have a barrier. So that probably should say a physical barrier that
Okay.
deemed appropriate by the department or something of that line.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, sorry.
But as you were going through those, you said curbing or landscaping.
I was trying to work with
Yeah,
them, yeah.
but
It
it's
seemed,
in writing is what we
Right.
usually
Yeah,
try
sorry
to
about that.
adopt, so, okay. No worries, thank you.
And George mentioned it initially too, like
Yeah.
you said, so.
And the contingency number 7, talking about the hard surfacing. That's, number 7 is just in regard to, or that's in regard to the entire,
no, that's in regard to the ADA.
Just the ADA.
Just the ADA, because the applicant is requesting a waiver from the hard surfacing requirement for the rest of the site.
for the rest of the site.
Yes.
All right. And asking on that, as far as the ADA, for an alternative?
They were initially asking if they could just do compaction, but ultimately stated if we asked for hard surfacing, that would not be an issue. So,
Anything else?
Not at this time.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so I will open the floor up for anyone who would like to come up and speak on this time. No one?
Anyone? Everyone?
Anyone? Okay. All right, we have no one rushing up. Last chance.
I'll get up.
Okay.
I'm here representing Local Mountain Outfitters. We always have a problem with wild game processing.
What is your name, sir?
Keith Lenhart.
Thank you.
And I've been there for 12 years. Every year, we always have a problem. And
We'll just have you fill that out when you're
Okay,
finished speaking. Thank you.
anyway, I've known the family. They're a force to be reckoned with. They do good business. Quality's excellent. I'm sure they'd be a great Fremont County business. Through the years, we've had to take our business out of county sometimes because of scheduling. So there is always more demand than there is processing. Last year, we had to take elk and deer to Callahan and Salida. So we prefer to keep everything in Fremont County. All the money goes. So we give 100% support to this idea.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Come on up.
I'll say,
Come on up.
sorry.
Just tell us your name.
Lindsay Camper.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm on here on the behalf of Tracy and Keller family. We process a lot of beef every year. So in the past years, we've taken, last year alone, we took $25,000 out of this county for as much as we process. So we're excited for this as well, and it's needed. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
if you'll fill one of those out for us, appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing unless there's anyone else. Do it again? All right, public hearing is closed. There's a lot of information here, guys. Sorry it's taken so long. We have 109 pages in front of us with the application, and Dan read most of them word for word. No, he didn't, but there's a lot of details here. Thank goodness he didn't, right? A lot of details here. I agree with the two folks that just came up and spoke. It's a very much needed business in the world, actually, not just the county, but all over the place. There's a trouble with processing plants, and I like the term processing plant rather than slaughter, because then the other people take it and go way off the other end. So it's processing plant, however you want to look at it, and it's a good purpose. So I appreciate the work that you guys have done on it, and the care that you have for the neighborhood and what you're trying to do to increase it, cleaning up those properties. They were in pretty bad shape. Appreciate that a lot. As mentioned in the contingencies, there's a few things that it sounds like they've already agreed to, the 75% on the alarm rather than 80, the gravel around the leach field. Really ready to work with everything that's kind of a contingency here, which they're pretty minor actually. So I'll open it up to the commissioners for any other comments or motion.
I would note, Mr. Chair, that when we use the term slaughterhouse, we don't have, it's not a triggering word around here like it is for up to Denver. But agreed, processing facility like this, they are definitely needed, and glad that we have an application here in front of us for this very thing, that obviously from witnesses' testimony that we obviously need this, and it would be a benefit for the community. So
I would just chime in and say, thank you for hanging in there. I know what a long process this has been, but this is a lot to happen all at the same time. And so I also agree. We hear, especially during 4-H time and livestock sale, we hear from so many of our constituents who say, I would love to buy an animal, there's nothing I can do with it, because they simply can't get it into a processing plant to be taken care of. So I just wanted to say thank you. I know the process has been long. We truly do try to make it as easy as we can. But when you have a lot of changes and you're asking for a lot of different things all within, rolled up into one application, it can be arduous. And so, again, thank you.
Yeah, with that, it's a final designation with the lot line vacation and SRU and a zone change, as you just said, so, and a non-conforming, correct. So there's a lot of stuff here.
So, Mr. Chair, with that, I think I'm prepared to work my way through a motion.
Okay.
before you do that, could I ask one more
Of course.
question of Dan and maybe Eric? Because I just want to make sure on that ADA space and what ADA requirements, what is the compaction method? I don't remember hearing this before in a packet like this.
Yeah, so they were offering to compact it to try and make the soil as firm as possible to see if the I don't want to say natural, but see if the gravel or the road base or whatever could be acceptable. So they're offering that as an option, because obviously getting in there and putting in some concrete, and it can get spendy, and it's another additional cost as they're trying to get up and going. So they were offering compaction to the site to see if that would be suitable. Staff still feels that hard surfacing would be the best and have the most longevity.
I think as much as we've dealt with this in some of the facilities we have and stuff, I think it's important to make sure that those folks with a disability can get there feasibly, and I worry about the compaction of the dirt. I mean, a little bit of rain and it goes away. So I think just consider that in your motion.
No,
Yeah.
and I just wanted some clarity on
Yeah.
that because I hadn't heard that request in regard to the ADA spaces before, and I didn't know what kind of options those were and what it exactly was offering. I would agree. I mean,
I think a little more cost up front is gonna save a lot of headaches in the rest of the time. as far as that
Longevity of
goes.
the project,
Yeah.
it'll leave headaches in the long run.
Just to kind of cover everything.
okay. Sorry, Commissioner.
You can have it if you'd like, but
Go ahead,
I
go
thought I
ahead.
would attempt it. All right, Mr. Chair, I move to approve this zone change 23-003 T-Bar K processing. The request to rezone 2.27 acres from agricultural estates to industrial. This application does also include a final development plan and special review use permit to allow for the processing slaughtering operation located at 1906 and 1910 North Street. So those things also are included in this motion. This motion does include the 7 contingencies as presented within our packet, with the exclusion of the written 1 continuous curb. That language shall be changed on contingency number 5 to read a physical barrier as deemed appropriate by the department. This motion also includes the acceptance of the recommended findings of fact. There are 8 of them on the same page. In our packet on page 12, it also does include the payment of the annual roadway impact fee. I think that's everything. Okay.
Except for maybe a waiver of the, or is that one of the conditions, waiver of the hard surface?
Waiver of the,
Of the hard surface for
Waiver
the
of the
rest
hard
of the parking lot.
surfacing, except for the ADA spaces. Okay. Yes, that is included as well.
I think that, yeah. Second.
It's a lot.
I think that's,
I think it covers it.
according to what I know, wrote it, yeah, what I wrote down. It has been moved and seconded to approve zone change 23-003 for debarcate processing, which does include an SRU changing, rezoning 2.7 acres from agriculture to industrial, final development plan. Any further discussion?
I think I'm good.
Better.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, good luck.
Good luck.
Yes, good luck out there.
Okay, we will get back to the regular agenda. We'll move on to item number 3, which is minor subdivision 24-001. Hilgren, it's a request for approval for minor subdivision that will create a total of 2 lots. Lot 1 will be 1.23, lot 1 will be 23 acres. Hold on a second. I kept talking louder and it wasn't doing any good.
We're excited too.
Dan's very excited.
All right, lot 1 will be 23 acres, and lot 2 will be 6 acres. The subject property is located in an agricultural rural zone district on County Road 95 in Florence. We have Mr. Matt Coatley here this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. So the property is located southwest of Florence on County Road 95. It's 29 acres, has an existing single-wide house on it.
Excuse me.
That is intended to stay on the 6-acre lot. It is serviced by the city of Florence for water. It will have septic systems. We did request for the stormwater report to be deferred, and I believe that the county engineer reviewed that and agreed with that. We already did put a note on the plat for a future, when Lot 1 is developed, they will have to do a report at that time. We did request a variance, of course. The lot width of Lot 2 doesn't meet the requirement for the depth of the lot. We're going a little deeper than what the regulations request. In this case, we're not impacting any regulations, any setbacks, any lot coverages, nothing will be impacted by it. It won't create any nonconformances or anything of that nature. This is just what the clients requested to fit with their future needs. The buyer of Lot 1 is planning to build a house, and they are horse people, so I'm seeing a lot of agricultural use on the property. And they don't have any plans in the near future to develop that at this time, so.
Okay, any questions for Matt at this point?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll move to a staff report. Back to Dan.
All right, I'll be less long-winded on this one. Minor sub 24-001 Hilgren. Applicants Kirk Hilgren, consultant Matt Koch. Lot number 1, 23 acres in size. Lot number 2, proposed to be 6. The subject property is located in the Agricultural Rural Zone District at 1306 County Road 95 in Florence. As proposed, both lots will meet the minimum requirements of that zone district. Lot 2 has improvements of a dwelling, a garage, and 2 sheds. The applicant has requested a waiver from Subdivision Regulations Appendix 1, I, Design Standards, A. Wherever possible, the depth of the lot should not be greater than twice its width. The lot currently does not meet the ZR or SR design standards. Wherever possible, they should not exceed twice the width. The layout still allows for positive uses and larger sizes for possible ag use. So that was the consultant's request. The applicant deferment request. The applicant is requesting a deferment of a perk test until development on Lot 1. And the applicant is requesting a deferment of a drainage plan on Lot 1 until the time of development. And then the contingency request, the applicant is requesting that access permits for Lot 2 be a contingency item. We have received comments. The county engineer has reviewed the drainage report and stated 1 is unwarranted at this time because there will be no change to the drainage discharge. If approved, said deferment should be noted on the final plat with submittal of the drainage plan due upon application of a building permit. And the building department for an OWTS system stated that although, let's see, an on-site wastewater treatment system box was checked, the applicant is requesting to defer the testing requirement until the application of a building permit for a dwelling. Although this department has no records of the subject property due to the size of the lot being created, 23 acres, it appears it should be able to accommodate an OWTS, therefore there's no objections to requesting that deferral. And then FCDOT, the applicant will be required to submit a driveway access permit for the new lot. And then in reviewing of the map of the existing home, it's clear that there's 2 access points on Lot 2. So Lot 2 has 2 current access points. So Lot 2 will be required to submit for access permits for where they're accessing out onto CR 95. Planning and Zoning Department recommendations, the variance request. Currently our regulations state that it cannot exceed this wherever possible. So based off of that verbiage, the zoning department does not recommend the variance of the design standards. Wherever possible, the depth of the lot should not be greater than twice the width. The planning and zoning does recommend the following 3 deferments. And those are the drainage plan and report for lot number 1 at the time of development. And then, let's see here, address issuance, application applied for at the time of development of lot 1, and the driveway access applied for and approved at the time of development for lot 1. And then we have 1 contingency request, and that's the driveway access permits for both access points be applied for on lot 2 before recording the Mylar to satisfy FCDOT's concerns. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Dan?
I do not.
Nope. Anything you need to add, Matt?
The majority of the properties out in this area don't conform to what we're asking for a variance from. So this will fit with the nature of the neighborhood. There won't be any real change on that. There are two approved subdivisions close in the area, the High Prairie Sub and the Sundance Acres. They are approved and they don't meet the requirements either. They make nice lots, there's no concerns. So, I mean, we're not requesting anything out of the ordinary there.
I think it's good that we can look at these on an individual basis. I know what the regulations say, but in this, for instance, the lot is still big. It's not like it's a tiny, narrow lot where it would cause trouble like that. So I think we have the ability to kind of do what we need to do with this. But again, it's on an individual basis. They're not all going to fly like, like that. But
I think, this is like you were just saying, I think this is at least one of those instances where on the case by case, I think we can interpret at least as best we can, the intent of such regulations and trying to prevent the flagpole lots without the flag. And not having the super skinny and super long in the same time, and you can kind of look at the maps and the sniff test
and I think
tells you that it doesn't.
Yeah, this one's 100 by 300, I think. I mean, it's still really large, so
Yeah.
the setbacks are not the
Yeah.
problem.
And this is why we have waivers.
Right. And yes.
So I would open it up for a motion unless there's any more discussion.
None for me.
Nope, I'm good.
I make sure I get all this stuff in here. Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve, I'm having a brain thing, MS, minor subdivision.
Yeah.
Brain thing?
Brain thing. Minor subdivision 24-00. Don't put that in the minutes. Minor subdivision 24-001 for Hilgren, requesting approval for, there it is, minor subdivision that will create a total of 2 lots. Lot 1 being 23 acres, and Lot 2 being 6 acres, located in the Ag Rural Zone District on County Road 95 in Florence. The variance I would include as part of this motion to grant the variance on the subdivision regulations for the depth versus width of the lot, and the deferment requests 1, 2, and 3 for the drainage plan and report, the address issuance, and the driveway access as presented in the staff report. Anything else I'm missing?
There's a
Contingency for
there, which
lot
is-
2?
One contingency.
The one contingency for Lot 2, and that's for the driveway access permit, applied for, approved for Lot 2 before recording of the Mylar.
I think that's everything, so I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve minor subdivision 24-001 Hilgren with everything Commissioner Grantham just stated. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye,
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
thank you.
Item number 4, temporary use permit 24-002, Rocky Mountain Trials, Club Trials event held April 21st, 2024. The owner applicant is requesting temporary use permit to allow Rocky Mountain Trials Association to conduct a trials event at the Stock Ranch. The RMTA clarified that the event is not a race and not expected to have any spectators. Location is 1790 Red Canyon Road, Canyon City, formerly known as 2074 County Road 9. Danny, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for hanging in there for
Thanks for
us.
hanging out with us.
Most patient man in Fremont County.
Thank you. This is our 3rd year. We thought it was 3 events, but this is the last one. Now it's just the.
Then it can be done in administratively. Yeah, that's what
Yes.
he's referring to.
So yeah, just a local club event. We expect 20 to 30 vehicles. A lot of people will carpool. No spectators. It's just our Colorado Club event. It'll be years and years before we see another national at the Stock Ranch. We utilize Texas Creek and Howard near you, Turkey Rock. So, but yeah, just a little club event, April 21st. And hopefully the cows are out of there before our event because they love to just tear up the sections. They'll usually set the weekend before, and they might even eat the ribbon. We hope not. But,
Good.
and then the miners too. Our pits right now have a huge, pile of their clay that they haul out in the rocks too. So Joe said we could use his field if need be for parking. But porta potties will be delivered next week, I believe next week, prior to the event, 2 porta potties from Twin Enviro. All of our EMS folks, we have many on that are riders that'll be there. So all the bikes have spark arresters. I don't know what else to say, but it's just a real low-key event.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I have none.
No snow this year, right?
No.
Yeah. Last year kind of got you. Dan, we'll turn to you for staff report right quick.
Here we have temporary use permit 24-002 Rocky Mountain Trials Association Club Trials event. This will be hosted on the Stock Ranch. It's not a race, it's a club event. This is their 3rd year applying, so it will be administrative from this point on. Surrounding properties, all ag forestry, and a little hint of industrial sprinkled in. For drinking water, participants are going to supply their own food and water. No vendors, 2 chemical toilets, and a chemical toilet permit approval as part of this application. The event will have a pack-in, pack-out policy for trash. Toilet placement is provided. As Danny said, it's Twin Enviro providing the toilets. For an emergency plan, the club members are EMS certified and will assist in treatment if injury occurs in the event of life-threatening. Proper emergency care will be contacted. Fire protection, property falls within the service of the Canyon City District. We've received an approved fire protection plan. They are not in a floodplain. Access is through Red Canyon Road. FCDOT made a request that the county road coming in, if there's any trash or anything from spectators, or not spectators, but folks coming in, if there's any littering, that they just police their own trash along the section of roadway approaching it. Department of Public Health has no issues. There's no vendors, and all food and water will be bottled. Their insurance is good. There are no conditions. One contingency is for the use of the chemical toilets. They are requesting a waiver from a surety bond. So we recommend approval of this TUP, providing that the surety bond is waived and the use of the chemical toilets is approved.
Okay, any questions for Dan?
No questions, but I do have a comment.
Yes.
Probably more for you, Danny. I just would say this is the 3rd year that we've done this, and the fact that you have no one here to protest and say, don't let them do this again, that says a lot to us. I mean, we often get that with a whole room full of people saying, nope, we don't want this, not in our backyard, please do not allow. But the fact that apparently there have been few to none to no issues. And I just want to let you know I appreciate that because it does make our decision a lot easier.
It's funny that you say that because I was sitting here thinking the same thing. I've never heard one complaint ever, not even in a
And that doesn't
grapevine around about way,
happen
and that
very
never happens.
often. So-
We've been having events there for almost 40 years.
Right, a
Joe
long
told me
time.
the other day since like 87 or something
Yeah.
like that. So it's been a long haul, and we just don't want to lose Joe because we don't know
Right.
what will happen.
And it's a great place. I mean, it is kind of secluded is one reason we don't have any complaints because it's kind of up in a little draw right there. It's a perfect place for it, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to note
Thank you.
that and
Yeah.
to say thank you because we do appreciate that.
And I appreciate
Yeah.
your application. I mean, it's clean as can be, so.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I'll make it the trifecta. This is why we have the ability to go to the administrative approval, is because of good partners with the community like you and good event organizers, and so we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion.
Yes, sir, I'm ready.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve temporary use permit 24-002 RMTA Club Trials event to be held on April 21st at the Stock Ranch. This is not a race. It is not expected to have any spectators. Located at 1790 Red Canyon Road. This does include the waiver of the surety bond as well as approval of chemical toilets for the event.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded to approve TUP 24-002 for our MTA Club Trials event. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last item on the agenda, Fremont County District Attorney fees reimbursement request. I'm going to turn to Attorney Eric Bellis for just a quick explanation. We talked about this in the last meeting, I think it was, and I'll turn it over to you, Eric. Thank you.
So the Fremont County Finance Office did receive an invoice from the District Attorney's Office on April 1st. Even though that came in on April 1st, we did take that invoice seriously. And of course, the District Attorney's Office is not funded by the county by any system of invoicing and payment of invoices. They are funded, in fact, by an annual appropriation, which occurs during the budget process. But even though this may have been mislabeled, I did treat this, and the Finance Department did treat this as a request for reimbursement of expenses incurred in the discharge of official duties for the benefit of the county, as is contemplated in Chapter 20, Article 1, Part 3 of the revised statutes. That invoice was for the amount of $9,262. This really should have been requested before any of those monies were paid out of District Attorney's Office funds, the same way that the Lindsay and Pembleton matters were requested when those two gentlemen requested reimbursement for expenses incurred. These were paid by the District Attorney's Office, but nevertheless, I did ask for supporting documentation so that I could review whether the amount claimed was appropriate under both the statute and the case law interpreting that statute. Of the amount, of the $9,262 amount, I did review that and determined that a portion of it was reimbursable. For the same reasons that we discussed in a prior board meeting, I gave one of the attorneys involved, this was for two attorneys in the DA's office. One attorney's costs were not reimbursable at all. The other attorney partially was reimbursable costs. I gave that attorney an opportunity to review my determination. I, in fact, did miss 0.3 of an hour's worth of time, which would have properly been reimbursable. My calculation is that this is reimbursable expense in the amount of $2,106. So of that amount that is properly subject to reimbursement under Colorado law, Fremont County would be responsible for its proportional share based on population. That amount would be $1,121.66, or 53.26% of the total reimbursable amount.
Okay, thank you. And again, that's split by all four counties that are covered in the 11th Judicial. That's where the rest of those come out of. Commissioners?
So Eric, could you just kind of give us the cliff notes of the primer on the must or the must nots in statute in regard to these kind of expenses, and reimbursements, I should say?
Certainly. With respect to reimbursement, Colorado statutes provide that district attorneys or deputies or assistant district attorneys are entitled to reimbursement for expenses, and this is a legal term of art, necessarily incurred in the discharge of the official duties of the office for the benefit of the county. These were largely attorney's fees. attorney's fees and costs associated in defending professional misconduct claims before the Office of Attorney Regulation Council. There is some case law that I quoted from the Colorado Supreme Court that basically says what that means. And what that means is that if you incur expenses in the defense of one of these claims and you're ultimately exonerated in full, then those are expenses necessarily incurred in the discharge of official duties and must be reimbursed by the county. On the other hand, if the expenses are incurred for something else, some other claim that's not related to doing the duties of the office, or in the event that the claim results in a finding of misconduct and a finding that a lawyer committed basically a violation of the rules of professional conduct, unethical conduct as it were, those cannot be, under any circumstances, classified or considered as expenses incurred in the discharge of official duties for the benefit of the citizens, because it is never among the district attorney's duties to commit professional misconduct or violate the rules of professional conduct.
Got it. Yeah. The point being, and the point of the question and the response is to point out that there are things that they are entitled to, as it says in statute. They are entitled to those reimbursements. That's something we must cover.
That is correct.
And that 2106 total for the 4 counties before the split is part of that must.
It is, in fact, part of that must, and that 2106 represents expenses incurred for defending an allegation that discovery was not provided, that the attorney, that one of these 2 attorneys committed misconduct by intentionally failing to provide discovery. And as to that claim, the prosecutor was entirely exonerated. It was found that there was no misconduct and that the attorney did nothing wrong.
And the total is $92.62 on the invoice that was sent to us, and only $2,106 is reimbursable, leaving $7,156 that they still have to cover.
Correct.
Did we determine where that was originally, who are we paying this back to exactly?
We would be paying this back to the office of the district attorney, because the district attorney's office paid these expenses on behalf of these 2 particular prosecutors. So essentially this will be included in next month's disbursement to the DA's office. Now that's not the way that it should have been done. The prosecutors themselves should have paid, or the DA's office should have requested in advance. They did not do that. And in fact, they paid expenses that are not properly reimbursable, that are not covered by Colorado Statutes Chapter 20, Article 1, Part 3, as expenses incurred in the discharge of official duties. So we're paying back only a portion of what they have already paid.
So they paid it out of district attorney funds that we help to supply from the 4 counties.
That's correct.
And unreimbursable, because they have not been exonerated for the amounts of that $7,156.
Or have not been exonerated, or it was related to something that had nothing to do with prosecutorial duties. And I do want to make that distinction, because there was another claim that the prosecutor was entirely exonerated from, at least with respect to professional misconduct. It just didn't have anything to do with prosecuting crimes.
Got it. And in either case, whether if it's not applicable to what their duties are, or whether they're not exonerated, the office used taxpayer dollars. I don't want to go down too far in this rabbit hole. If anybody in the millions is listening, they know where I'm heading on that.
Yes, and you are correct.
Eric, we approved this at the last meeting or whatever, a couple of meetings ago, for that initial fund. Do we need approval to add this to it?
Well, this is a little bit of a different request. Initially, we approved reimbursing 2 former prosecutors directly for expenses that they had
This is
paid.
going back.
This would be a reimbursement to the office of the 11th Judicial District Attorney for the county's share, $1,121.66.
I think that's a very important distinction to make. Thanks for bringing that up, because we reimbursed 2 other individuals before that had already paid for it out of their own pocket, not out of taxpayer expenses. or
Correct.
Taxpayer funds.
And they requested, prior approval, they requested that those expenses be paid in advance, and that request was properly denied pending conclusion of the disciplinary proceedings. Those disciplinary proceedings were concluded in their favor, and we reimbursed those individuals directly.
Yeah, good distinction.
Eric, thank you for staying on top of this for us and continuing to obtain information and ask the questions and keeping us organized, as well as working with the other counties that are within the 11th Judicial District to let them know the information that you've found out and sharing that with them. So I just want to say thank you for that.
I'll entertain a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move that we would approve the reimbursement to the Office of the District Attorney in the amount of $1,121.66, which is the Fremont County portion of the $2,106.
And a fraction of the original amount requested of more than $9,000. I second that.
Has been moved and seconded to reimburse the District Attorney's Office $1,121.66. Any further discussion? Thank you, Eric, for your explanation.
You're welcome.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. No further business before us. We are adjourned.